I stood in the hallway of my daughter's apartment building, staring at the door that had just slammed in my face. My two battered suitcases sat beside me like silent witnesses to my shame. The sound of the lock clicking into place still echoed in my ears, but it was Derek's words that kept replaying in my mind. "We're not running a charity. I'm not feeding extra mouths in my house." My daughter Patricia, my Patty, had stood right behind him, silent, her eyes on the floor. She didn't say a word as her husband threw me out like yesterday's trash. I heard a door crack open down the hall. Mrs. Potter from 8A peeked out, her wrinkled face full of pity. I couldn't bear it. I grabbed my suitcases and walked toward the elevator, my hands shaking so badly I could barely press the button. Let me back up a bit. 3 weeks ago, I buried my husband, Robert. It was a small funeral, just a handful of people at the chapel. I wore the black dress I'd sewn myself 15 years earlier because I couldn't afford a new one. Robert's medical bills had taken everything. The cancer treatments, the hospital stays, the medications that insurance wouldn't cover. It all added up to a mountain of debt that swallowed our savings whole. Patricia arrived late that day, Derek trailing behind her in his expensive suit. They stayed maybe an hour. Derek kept checking his watch. I remember thinking how different my daughter looked from the girl I raised. Her clothes were designer brands I couldn't pronounce. Her hair was done at salons I'd never set foot in. But her eyes, they were cold in a way I didn't recognize. After everyone left, I sat alone in our tiny apartment and opened the letter from my landlord. He needed the place for his daughter's family. I had 30 days to find somewhere else to live. I worked as a seamstress for 35 years, made enough to raise 2 kids and keep a roof over our heads. But Robert's sickness took 3 years to kill him, and it took our finances even faster. My pension was barely $700 a month. I had $847 in my bank account. Not enough for first month, last month, and deposit anywhere in the city. My son Tommy was away on a work assignment in Singapore. He would have helped in a heartbeat, but he was unreachable for another 2 weeks. That left Patricia. I stared at her number in my phone for an hour before calling. The conversation was stiff, awkward. She said she'd talked to Derek. 2 days of silence followed, then a text message. "You can stay for a little while. Don't bring much stuff." When I arrived at Sunset Grove Apartments 4 days ago, I was so grateful I actually cried. The building was beautiful. Brick facade, clean hallways, the kind of place I'd always dreamed of living. Patricia met me at the door with a tight smile. Derek barely looked up from his phone. "We cleared out the storage room for you," Patricia said, leading me past their spacious living room to a cramped space that smelled like cardboard. There was an air mattress on the floor and a broken lamp in the corner. "Thank you," I whispered, because what else could I say? For 4 days, I tried to be invisible. I skipped meals so I wouldn't eat their food. I showered at odd hours so I wouldn't use their hot water. I spent my time looking at apartment listings I couldn't afford and trying not to cry where they could hear me. This morning, I made a mistake. I used one of Derek's fancy coffee pods. I didn't know they were special. I thought coffee was just coffee. He exploded like I'd burned down his house. Patricia stood behind him as he yelled about respect and boundaries and how I was taking advantage of their generosity. The argument grew bigger and meaner until he said those words that cracked something inside me. Now I'm sitting on a bench outside Sunset Grove Apartments with everything I own, watching strangers walk past, wondering how my own daughter could do this to me. My phone buzzes. I don't look at it. I already know it won't be her. The bench was cold and hard beneath me. but I couldn't make myself move. People walked past. Some glanced at me and my suitcases, others pretended not to see. I'd become one of those invisible people you pass on the street and forget about instantly. I pulled out my phone and called Tommy, straight to voicemail. Right. He was on a flight back from Singapore. My finger hovered over the red button, then I started talking. Tommy, it's Mum. I'm okay. Don't worry, but Patricia and Derek, they asked me to leave. I'm fine. I just need to figure some things out. Call me when you land. I love you. I hung up before my voice could crack completely. $847. That's what I had. I looked up homeless shelters on my phone, and shame burned through me like acid. Is this what my life had become? Gloria? Gloria Morrison. I looked up to see an elderly man in a brown cardigan walking toward me. It took me a moment to place him, Mr. Bridges, the building owner. I'd altered his suits years ago when I worked at the tailor shop on Madison Street. Mr. Bridges. I tried to smile, tried to wipe my face casually like I hadn't been crying. What are you doing out here with your bags? Are you moving? His eyes were kind, concerned. The lie formed on my tongue. Something about waiting for a friend, some excuse to protect my dignity. But I was so tired of pretending. I was staying with my daughter for a few days, I said quietly. It didn't work out. He didn't push for details, and I loved him for that. We talked for a few minutes, him remembering how perfectly I'd tailored his jacket for his wife's funeral, me remembering what a generous tip he'd left. Then he did something that made me cry all over again. I own a laundromat next to this building, he said. There's a small room above it. My late wife used to sew up there. It's been empty for 2 years. It's not fancy, but it has a bathroom and a hot plate. You can stay there. No rent for the first month while you get on your feet. I couldn't speak. I just nodded while tears ran down my face. The room was small, barely bigger than Patricia's storage closet, but it was mine. There was an old sewing machine in the corner covered in dust, a narrow bed, a tiny table. Mr. Bridges helped carry my suitcases up the stairs, refused my thanks, and left me with a key and his phone number. That first night, I cleaned the sewing machine and cried until I had no tears left. By the end of the week, I'd started taking in mending jobs from laundromat customers, a hem here, a button there. Small money, but honest work. Mr. Bridges brought me coffee most mornings, and we'd talk about his late wife, about the neighborhood, about life. One morning, he mentioned something that made my ears perk up. I'm thinking of selling Sunset Grove, he said, stirring sugar into his cup. I'm tired, Gloria. My kids don't want anything to do with property management. They want me to retire to Florida, be near the grandkids. I've had some offers around $2.3 million, but I'm picky. I care about my tenants, you know? Don't want some corporation buying it and squeezing them dry. $2.3 million. I couldn't even imagine that much money. That night, Tommy finally called back. He was horrified when I explained what happened. He wanted to send money immediately, wanted to fly here and confront Patricia. I stopped him, told him about Mr. Bridges and my sewing work. Mom, I've been investing, he said. I have savings, real savings. Let me help you. How much savings? I asked. Almost $900,000. I sat up straighter. My mind started turning, pieces clicking together like a puzzle. Tommy, I said slowly, I need to ask you something, and I need you to trust me. I pulled up Patricia's social media on my phone. Her latest post showed her and Derek at some fancy restaurant. Living our best life, no negativity allowed. Something hard and cold settled in my chest. I knew exactly what I was going to do. The next morning, I sat at my small table with a notebook and calculator, writing down numbers until my hand cramped. I called Tommy back and asked him questions I never thought I'd need to ask. How much could he access quickly? What were his credit scores? Could he co-sign a loan? He answered everything without hesitation. $890,000 available. Excellent credit from years of responsible banking. And yes, he'd co-sign anything I needed. "Mum, what are you planning?" he asked. "Something I should have done a long time ago," I said. "Standing up for myself." At 10 o'clock, I walked downstairs and knocked on Mr. Bridges's office door. My hands were sweating. I'd practiced what to say a dozen times, but my mouth still felt dry. "Gloria, come in, come in," he smiled, pouring me coffee without asking. "What can I do for you?" "You mentioned selling Sunset Grove," I began, my voice steadier than I felt. "I want to know more about it. The finances, the occupancy, everything." He raised his eyebrows but didn't laugh at me. That's when I knew he was a good man. For 2 hours, he walked me through everything. 24 units, 23 currently occupied, 94% occupancy rate. Total monthly rent collected was $31,000. Annual income around $372,000, with expenses for maintenance, property tax, and insurance eating up about $156,000. That left roughly $216,000 in profit each year. "It's a good building," he said. "Solid investment for the right person." "I want to buy it," I said. He set down his coffee cup slowly. "Gloria, I'm serious. I have access to $890,000. I know I need financing for the rest, and I know banks don't usually work with someone like me, but I'm asking you to help me make this happen." Mr. Bridges studied my face for a long moment. "Why?" he asked simply. I could have lied, could have said it was just a business decision, but I told him the truth about Derek throwing me out, about Patricia's silence, about standing in that hallway with my suitcases while neighbors watched. "Your daughter lives here, doesn't she?" he said quietly. "Unit 12B. "Yes, sir." "And their lease is up next month." "Yes, sir." He leaned back in his chair, a small smile playing at his lips. "You know what? I like you, Gloria. You've got spine. Let's see what we can do." The next 2 weeks were a blur of paperwork, bank meetings, and inspections. The first 3 banks turned us down flat. A 58-year-old widow with barely any income wasn't their ideal borrower. But the 4th bank, a smaller local one, looked at Tommy's co-signature, looked at the building's solid history, and said yes. Mr. Bridges helped in ways he didn't have to. He agreed to hold a small second mortgage himself, $50,000, because he trusted me and because, as he said, he'd rather see me own his building than some corporate investor who'd gut it for profit. I barely slept those 2 weeks. Every night I reviewed documents, learned about landlord responsibilities, studied tenant law. Mr. Bridges introduced me to the maintenance crew, walked me through handling complaints, taught me everything he knew. During all of this, Patricia never called. Not once. I saw her social media posts. Derek got some new job title that sounded important. They were planning a vacation to the Bahamas. My daughter was living her best life while I was living in a room above a laundromat. But not for much longer. The closing happened on a Thursday afternoon in a lawyer's office that smelled like old books and leather. My hand shook as I signed my name over and over. Tommy appeared on video call to sign his portions, pride shining in his eyes. When it was done, Mr. Bridges shook my hand firmly. Congratulations, Gloria. You're now the owner of Sunset Grove Apartments. I walked outside and stood across the street, looking up at the building. Third floor, corner unit, Patricia's windows. The lights were on. I owned the roof over my daughter's head, and her lease expired in 23 days. My phone rang that evening. Patricia's name lit up the screen for the first time in 3 weeks. "Hey, Mum. Just checking in?" Her voice was bright, fake, cheerful. No apology. No mention of throwing me out like garbage. "How are you doing?" I gripped the phone tighter. "I'm doing well, Patricia. Very well, actually." "Oh, good, good. Listen, Derek and I are having a few people over this weekend, and he thought maybe you'd like to come by. You know, see the apartment again? Clear the air?" Clear the air. As if what happened was just a small misunderstanding. "No, thank you," I said calmly. "I'm busy." She sounded relieved. "Okay, well, maybe another time. Take care, Mom." She hung up before I could respond. I sat at my new desk in the building manager's office, my office now, and pulled out the tenant files. 23 lease renewal letters to write. I started with the easy ones first. Mrs. Potter in 8A, her rent would go up $30 to match inflation. The young couple in 3C, $40 increase, still below market rate because they always paid on time. The college student in 6F, no increase at all because I remembered being young and broke. Then I opened the file labeled Unit 12B, Wallace, Derek and Patricia. Current rent, $1,850 per month. Mr. Bridges had given them a preferential rate 3 years ago because they seemed like good tenants. The market rate for their corner unit with the balcony and extra bedroom was $2,400. But I wasn't thinking about market rate. I did the math. Triple their current rent would be $5,550. I typed up their renewal letter on official landlord letterhead, my fingers steady on the keyboard. "Dear Mr. and Mrs. Wallace, please be advised that your current lease will expire on November 30th. Your renewal terms are as follows. Monthly rent of $5,550, effective December 1st. Please respond in writing within 30 days to accept these terms or provide notice of intent to vacate." I printed it, signed it, and slipped it into an envelope. The next morning, I personally delivered renewal notices to every mailbox. When I reached 12B, I could hear music inside and Derek's loud laugh. I slid the envelope through the slot and walked away. 2 hours later, my landlord phone rang. "What the hell is this?" Derek's voice was nuclear. $5,500? This is insane. This is illegal. "I'm calling a lawyer." I kept my voice calm as still water. "The renewal terms are within legal limits for market adjustments, Mr. Wallace. You have 30 days to accept or vacate. All details are in the letter." "Who do you think you are?" he screamed. "I'm your landlord. The building was sold. I'm the new owner." The silence on the other end was beautiful. "What? What do you mean you're the owner?" His voice had gone small. "I purchased Sunset Grove Apartments 2 weeks ago. The sale is finalized and recorded with the county." I heard Patricia's voice in the background. "Derek, what's happening? Who is it?" It's your mother," he said, his voice strangled. She bought the building." The phone rustled as Patricia grabbed it. "Mom, this is a joke, right? Some kind of mistake?" "No mistake, Patricia. I'm the owner now. Your lease terms are in the letter. I need your decision in writing within 30 days. "Mum, please." Her voice cracked. "We can't afford that. You can't do this. I'm your daughter." The words hit me like a slap, but I kept my voice steady. You're right. You are my daughter. And 1 week ago, when I was your mother who needed help, your husband said he wouldn't feed extra mouths. Now I'm your landlord. Business is business." Derek grabbed the phone back, spewing threats and insults, legal action, harassment claims, discrimination. He threw everything at me. I let him exhaust himself. "Mr. Wallace," I said, when he finally paused for breath, "you have 30 days. The terms won't change. If you choose to vacate, I'll need the apartment in the same condition per your lease agreement. Have a good evening." I hung up. My phone immediately started ringing again. I ignored it. Text messages flooded in. Patricia cycling through anger, accusations, desperation, pleading, insults, then sobbing apologies. I read each one but didn't respond. That evening, Mrs. Potter knocked on my office door. "I heard you're the new owner," she said, her eyes twinkling. "I just wanted to say, I saw what happened to you in that hallway. I see everything in this building. And I think what you're doing is just fine." She patted my hand and shuffled away. At midnight, I finally sent Patricia one text message. "You made me feel worthless when I needed you most. You stood silent while he threw me out like garbage. Now you know how it feels to be powerless? You have 29 days." I turned off my phone and slept soundly for the first time in months. 15 days passed. No official response from Patricia and Derek, no rent check, nothing. But I saw them in the hallways, Derek's face red and angry whenever our paths crossed, Patricia looking at the floor, unable to meet my eyes. The other tenants had embraced me completely. I fixed Mrs. Potter's leaky faucet myself. I hired a new maintenance crew that actually showed up on time. I organized a building cleanup day and bought pizza for everyone who helped. People stopped me in the lobby to thank me for caring about the place. On day 16, I was collecting rent checks in the lobby when Patricia and Derek walked in. Derek marched straight up to me, puffing his chest like a rooster. "We're not paying that ridiculous rent," he announced loudly. "You'll have to evict us, and that'll take months. We know our rights." Several tenants had stopped to watch. I simply nodded. "That's your choice. I'll file the eviction paperwork tomorrow. It will go on your rental history permanently." His face went pale. He hadn't thought about that. Patricia suddenly grabbed my arm, pulling me away from the small crowd. "Mum, please. Can we talk? Alone?" We stepped into my office. She closed the door, and the tears came. Real ones this time, not manipulation. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I was horrible. I was wrong. Derek pressured me, but that's no excuse. I should have defended you. I should have told him to shut his mouth. Please, Mom. Please forgive me." I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. I could see the girl I'd raised, buried somewhere under the designer clothes and the fake confidence. "Patricia, I love you," I said quietly. "I always will. But love doesn't mean accepting abuse. You chose him over me. You watched him humiliate me and said nothing. That broke something inside me that won't heal easily." "I know," she whispered. "I'll leave him. I'll fix this. Just please." I shook my head. "Don't leave him for me. If you leave him, do it because you've finally seen who he really is. That's your choice to make, not mine." I took a breath. "But I'm not a monster. I won't triple your rent. Market rate for your unit is $2,400. That's what I'm offering you. The same rate I'd offer any tenant. Take it or leave it. You have until day 30. Her eyes widened. 2,400. We can do that. Thank you, Mom. Thank you." "I'm not doing this as your mother," I interrupted. I'm doing this as a fair landlord. That's all. Derek tried one last desperate move. He called Tommy to make him see reason. Tommy's response was ice cold. You called my mother an extra mouth to feed. You're lucky she's offering you market rate. I would have tripled it and enjoyed watching the eviction. On day 30, they signed the new lease at my desk. Derek's hands shook with rage as he wrote his signature. Patricia was quiet, her eyes red from crying. As they stood to leave, Patricia turned back. Mum, could we maybe have coffee sometime? I paused, studying her face. Maybe. Someday. When you've figured out who you want to be. 3 months passed. The building ran smoothly. Tommy visited twice, beaming with pride at what I'd built. Patricia and Derek's marriage crumbled under the financial pressure. I heard them fighting through the walls, heard doors slamming at midnight. Then one evening, there was a knock at my apartment door. I'd moved into a nicer unit on the second floor. I deserved it. Patricia stood there alone, holding a folder. These are divorce papers, she said quietly. You were right about everything. About Derek, about who I'd become. I couldn't see it before, but I see it now. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to find that girl you raised. I looked at my daughter. Thinner, tired, but something genuine in her eyes for the first time in years. Come in, I said. I'll make tea. We sat at my small kitchen table, the silence awkward but real. This wasn't forgiveness, not yet. Maybe not ever completely. But it was honest. I'm still your landlord, I said gently. Rent is still due on the 1st. A small smile broke through her tears. I know, and I'll pay it. On time. Good. Outside my window, the Sunset Grove Apartments sign glowed in the evening light. My building, my rules, my second chance at life, and maybe, just maybe, my daughter's second chance too.